As January approaches, certain grocery products are expected to skyrocket in price, driven by economic pressures, climate challenges, and disruptions in the global market. Let's dive into 8 grocery items that could become significantly more expensive and why you should stock up now. 1. Bread and wheat-based products. The global wheat market is undergoing major shifts, making wheat-based goods like bread and pasta likely to see notable price hikes. Even though the Food and Agriculture Organization reported a record wheat output of 784 million tons, rising demand is tightening supply. The International Grains Council warns that production and consumption are neck and neck, putting pressure on high-demand regions. In the U.S., wheat futures recently steadied at 5.34 cents per bushel, reflecting ongoing market adjustments. Meanwhile, the European Union, one of the biggest wheat producers, expects a 9% drop in output due to poor weather, reducing forecasts to 122.6 million metric tons. These regional shortages are rippling across the globe. Adding to the strain, rising costs for fertilizer and energy are forcing producers to raise prices. Countries like Egypt, a top wheat importer, have increased subsidized bread prices by a staggering 300% to cope with economic pressures. With geopolitical instability and fluctuating trade conditions, experts predict wheat-based staples will only get pricier. The USDA even forecasts a 1.6% increase in food costs next year, making items like bread and pasta more valuable than ever. 2. Coffee lovers, brace yourselves. Your morning cup is becoming a luxury. The price of Arabica coffee has soared to $3.23 per pound, a level not seen since 1977. This spike stems from severe droughts in Brazil, the world's largest coffee producer, which have devastated harvests. Similarly, Robusta coffee prices climbed to $5,829 per metric ton, driven by poor weather in Vietnam and Indonesia, 2 key producers. The El Niño weather pattern has worsened these supply issues, contributing to a 3-year global deficit. On top of that, new EU regulations requiring proof that coffee imports aren't linked to deforestation are straining supply chains even further. In the U.S., consumers are already feeling the squeeze, with cafes and retailers adjusting prices to account for rising procurement costs. Your favorite coffee drinks are getting more expensive. While analysts expect a slight easing in prices as new crops enter the market, overall costs are likely to stay historically high. Climate challenges, supply chain disruptions, and new regulations mean coffee prices will remain volatile, so stocking up now could save you money later. 3. Orange juice. The orange juice market is facing unprecedented challenges, pushing prices to record highs. Brazil, the world's largest producer, is battling its smallest crop in 35 years, with production down by 25%. Severe droughts, the worst in 5 decades, have devastated orange yields, while citrus greening disease has affected 38% of Brazil's orange trees, further cutting output. Florida, once a global citrus powerhouse, has seen orange production plummet by 92% over the past 20 years, with hurricanes like Hurricane Milton destroying crops just before harvest. These combined factors have sent wholesale orange juice prices soaring to over $6,500 per ton, more than double last year's price of $3,000. Retail prices are following suit, with some brands raising costs by more than 34%. Companies like Tropicana are struggling to maintain profits and are passing these costs on to consumers. While some manufacturers are experimenting with alternatives, like using mandarin oranges, these solutions barely make a dent in the widespread shortage. Countries like Australia, heavily reliant on Brazilian orange juice concentrate, are bracing for 20% price increases, forcing a shift to cheaper, lower-content fruit drinks. As prices climb, demand is expected to drop by 15 to 25%, with many consumers opting for more affordable beverages. Unfortunately, experts predict that ongoing weather issues and the persistent threat of citrus greening disease mean high prices are here to stay. Recovery in orange juice production could take years. Sugar. The global sugar market is also under immense strain, driving up prices and creating severe supply constraints. India, the world's second-largest sugar producer, has reported a 35% drop in production due to delayed harvesting and unfavorable weather in key regions like Maharashtra and Karnataka. With these challenges, India is unlikely to issue export quotas this season, cutting the global supply even further. This has already sent shockwaves through international markets, as India plays a pivotal role in stabilizing sugar exports. Cuba, once a sugar industry giant, is now struggling with minimal resources for fuel, fertilizers, and machinery. Many of its mills have shut down, pushing production to an all-time low and widening the gap. In the global supply chain, Brazil, the largest sugar exporter, has also faced setbacks. Severe droughts and fires in its center-south region have slashed harvest yields, exacerbating shortages. These disruptions have driven sugar futures to over 22 cents per pound, a price not seen in years. Meanwhile, global demand for sugar continues to rise, particularly in emerging markets, creating a deficit of over 3 million metric tons this season. As consumption outpaces production, prices are expected to stay high, making sugar another essential commodity to stock up on before January. This imbalance is particularly visible in the United States, where domestic sugar stocks are shrinking rapidly. The USDA has revised the country's sugar stocks to use ratio downward, signaling tighter supplies and higher prices on the horizon. Retailers and manufacturers are already adjusting prices, impacting not just raw sugar, but a wide range of sugar-based products. The situation isn't improving anytime soon. Prolonged adverse weather conditions, including droughts and extreme heat, are expected to continue disrupting production in key regions. And unlike annual crops, sugar takes years to recover from such setbacks. Combined with rising global demand, regulatory changes, and economic pressures, the sugar market is expected to remain highly volatile. For consumers, this means one thing: brace yourself for sustained price increases on sugar and sugar-based goods. 5. Cooking oils. The global cooking oil market is also facing significant disruptions, driven by agricultural challenges, trade dynamics, and economic shifts. In the U.S., an influx of imported used cooking oil, particularly from China, has become a concern for local farmers. This cheaper alternative is undermining domestic investments in crops grown for low-carbon fuels under recent climate legislation. As a result, soybean oil prices have taken a hit, prompting calls for policy changes to support American-grown products. In India, rising temperatures are altering farmers' planting choices. Many are switching from heat-sensitive crops, like rapeseed and mustard, to more resilient options like wheat and potatoes. This shift is expected to reduce rapeseed cultivation by about 10%, increasing India's reliance on imported oils like palm, soybean, and sunflower oil to meet its domestic demand. Meanwhile, the European Union is anticipating a 31% increase in olive oil production for the 2024 to 2025 season, thanks to favorable spring rains. Spain, recovering from severe droughts, is driving this rebound, with total production projected to hit 2 million metric tons. However, consumer behavior may take time to shift back to olive oil after many opted for cheaper alternatives, like sunflower oil, during periods of high prices. Even with EU consumption expected to grow by 7%, it remains uncertain whether prices will fully stabilize. In the U.S., olive oil prices remain steep, with some bottles selling for over $12.39. Brands like Bertolli anticipate a potential 50% price drop between November and January, provided the weather remains favorable for European harvests. Innovation is also shaping the cooking oil market. Sustainable alternatives, such as oils derived from microalgae and fermentation, are gaining traction. These options are environmentally friendly, requiring fewer resources than traditional oils, and offer neutral flavors suitable for a variety of dishes. High-end restaurants like 11 Madison Park and Blue Hill at Stone Barns are already adopting these oils, showcasing their versatility. While currently expensive, ongoing research and growing consumer interest hint at a bright future for these alternatives. In India, cooking oil demand remains robust. Adani Wilmar, the producer of Ruchi Gold Oil, reported a 21% profit increase in its second quarter, driven by a 10% rise in revenue from edible oils. Interestingly, rural areas are outperforming urban regions in sales, underscoring strong demand despite higher import duties. 6. Dairy products. The U.S. dairy industry is navigating significant economic shifts, environmental concerns, and evolving consumer habits. As of mid-2024, the average price of dairy cows rose to $2,500 per head, a substantial increase from $1,900 in mid-2023. This uptick indicates higher demand and economic pressures, yet the overall number of dairy cows dropped by 40,000 compared to the previous year, reflecting consolidation trends in the industry. Milk production for 2024 is projected to hit 226 billion pounds, showing slight growth from earlier forecasts. However, profitability challenges persist, with the all-milk price forecast adjusted downward to $22.75 per hundredweight. This indicates that increased production won't necessarily lead to higher earnings for dairy farmers, influenced by inventory levels and recent price trends. The cheese market, on the other hand, analysts project its value to grow by $38.8 billion from 2024 to 2028, driven by expanding cheese use in diverse cuisines and technological advancements like AI-driven market evolution. Yet, international trade dynamics, especially with China, continue to challenge U.S. dairy exports. Butter prices have surged dramatically, creating difficulties for both bakers and consumers. In Europe, butter prices soared to $8,876 per metric ton, marking an 83% increase compared to last year. Similar trends are seen in the U.S., where butter prices remain high, with analysts predicting it could take months before production catches up to demand and prices stabilize. Another challenge is the U.S. Farm Bill, which expired on September 30th, 2024. Without timely legislative updates, the industry risks facing a dairy cliff, where prices skyrocket and nutrition programs suffer. This underscores the urgent need for government intervention to stabilize the dairy sector. Environmental concerns add to the complexity. Agriculture, particularly the cattle sector, accounts for 40% of global methane emissions, prompting calls for action. Companies like Danone have set reduction targets, while others face criticism for lagging behind. Consumer preferences are also evolving. Major brands like Starbucks have stopped charging extra for plant-based milks, signaling a shift toward more sustainable choices. Despite these hurdles, the U.S. dairy market is poised for significant growth, projected to expand from $17.08 billion in 2024 to $126.80 billion by 2029, growing at a rate of 3.44% annually. To sustain this trajectory, the industry must balance production challenges, environmental responsibilities, and shifting consumer demands. 7. Canned goods. Canned goods remain a cornerstone of convenience for households, especially in uncertain times. The global canned goods market is projected to exceed $19 billion by 2029, growing at an annual rate of over 4%. This growth stems from urbanization, changing dietary habits, and advancements in preservation technology that ensure higher quality and a greater variety of products. Canned fruits and vegetables are household staples, offering year-round access to produce regardless of season. Similarly, canned proteins like fish and meats are gaining popularity for their convenience and long shelf life. Ready-to-eat canned meals have also become a go-to option for busy urban populations, further driving market growth. E-commerce platforms have amplified consumer access to canned goods, making it easier than ever to purchase these items. However, supply chain challenges loom. Labor shortages, fluctuating demand, and logistical delays have disrupted availability, making certain products harder to find. Canned goods continue to be a critical part of global food systems, valued for their convenience, long shelf life, and reliability. The global canned goods market is projected to exceed $19 billion by 2029, growing at an annual rate of over 4%. While consumer demand remains robust, supply chain challenges have created hurdles, particularly in sourcing materials like aluminum for cans. These shortages have driven up production costs and ultimately retail prices. In some regions, increased competition from cheaper imports is pressuring local canning industries. Domestic farmers are receiving fewer orders as canning companies turn to cost-effective alternatives from abroad, raising concerns about the sustainability of local agriculture. In response, There are growing calls for government support to protect domestic production and secure food sovereignty. Despite these obstacles, innovation is reshaping the canned goods industry. Companies are branching out beyond traditional food items, introducing products like canned beverages and premixed cocktails to meet the rising demand for convenience and novelty. Meanwhile, manufacturers are investing in sustainable packaging solutions to align with environmental standards and cater to eco-conscious consumers. The canned goods market's adaptability and focus on innovation position it for continued growth. As lifestyles grow busier and demand for practical food options rises, canned goods will remain a vital part of household pantries worldwide. 8. Rice. Rice is a cornerstone of global food security, with its market value projected to grow from $376.54 billion in 2024 to $436.30 billion, reflecting a compound annual growth rate of 3%. Cultivated in over 120 countries, rice is a staple for billions. China and India dominate global production, contributing roughly 50% of the total, with China producing 21.4 million tons and India around 177.1 million tons in 2023. Despite these high production levels, certain regions struggle to meet domestic demand, resulting in significant imports. For instance, Sub-Saharan Africa relies heavily on imported rice to supplement local production. In contrast, countries like Indonesia are expanding farmland by 3 million hectares to reduce their reliance on imports and achieve self-sufficiency. India, the world's largest rice exporter, has introduced measures to boost competitiveness, such as removing the floor price for non-basmati white rice exports. These policy changes aim to support farmers and enhance market positioning. Meanwhile, technological advancements and sustainable practices are reshaping the rice industry. Innovations like drought-resistant rice varieties and precision agriculture are helping producers tackle challenges like water scarcity and climate variability. Consumer preferences are also shifting. There's a growing demand for aromatic and specialty rice varieties, alongside an increasing interest in organic and sustainably grown options. This trend reflects heightened awareness of health and environmental considerations, encouraging producers to diversify their offerings to cater to evolving tastes. As climate change and global demand reshape the rice market, these adaptations will be key to maintaining productivity and ensuring resilience in one of the world's most essential crops. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our other videos for more tips and updates on stocking your pantry wisely. Stay prepared, and see you in the next one.